Good morning, traders. It is 5:45 a.m. on Friday, March 22nd, 2019. The end of another glorious week of trading. Hopefully, it's been a glorious week of trading for you. I am Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators, and I would just like to remind everybody to please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, make sure to leave us feedback in the comments below, and especially if you've got any particular symbols you'd like looked at, any particular stocks, futures, any chart, any market, anything you'd like me to take a look at and just give you my analysis, I'd be happy to do that. So just leave it in the comments below, and we'll definitely consider adding a little segment on whatever you add, and just feedback in general as well. If there's anything we're doing, anything that I can do to help you trade better, help you more, whatever's useful, let us know. We take all the feedback very seriously, and we will definitely check it all out. So welcome also to the new subscribers, and welcome to those who are about to subscribe. All right, with that, let's go ahead and jump into the markets, starting with the S&P 500, as I always do. This is, of course, the sort of bellwether, if you will, of the overall markets. This is the big gauge that everybody uses to sort of determine how is the market doing. And we've been in this big push up, had a bit of a correction here, a little bit of a pullback, which is a really good, healthy sign in a solid uptrend. And right now, the trend has continued. It has actually managed to break out of this zone and break higher. Yesterday was an extremely, extremely strong day. I mean, you can see it here on the 60 especially. Just huge push to the upside, small little pullback here, and then a final push up. So yesterday was a big, big day, and now we're coming back down and looking to test this zone as support. That's what it looks like to me, which is also a very standard response. A level is broken, a resistance level, a support level, and then the market reverses to test that level, make sure that it's going to be solid, and then if it is, it can continue from there. So that's what I'm looking for here is this test here going to hold, or are we going to fall back into the zone? And especially, are we going to break this level here? If we break this higher low, then definitely this trend is unstable. It is not a healthy trend any longer. And that also would fit with what we're seeing here, which is this oscillator getting weaker and weaker and weaker, just continuing to make lower highs while price just makes higher highs and higher highs and higher highs and higher highs. So price keeps moving up, but the oscillator keeps moving down. That is a divergence, and it just suggests that this move is exhausted and is probably going to be due for a correction of some significance. You know, we had a small correction here, but it was very small. It was not even 38%. This was a very tiny little wiggle to the downside. So right this moment, though, it is indisputable. The bulls are in control, as they have been pretty much this entire time. Even during this pullback, this was just a healthy pullback, a normal, healthy retracement. So we really have to just consider that the bulls are very, very strong in this market, and they do not want to go down without a fight, and they are fighting. So on the 60-minute, again, we have the oscillator getting weaker and weaker and weaker, but price is already reflecting that. So this is not a divergence. This is just the oscillator reflecting what price is doing. We had a big move down just a number of hours ago this morning, and right now just sideways. All right, this morning so far, the last few hours, it's been very sideways, and it was pretty much sideways all night as well. Just a very narrow range bouncing around here. So right this second, it's not clear what might shape up. We do have, you know, the at the moment we've set a higher high here, right? We've got a higher high, but we need to form that higher low and then another higher high. So right now I'm looking for that higher low to pull back, and right now it's retraced already to what I would hazard is probably the 38%. In fact, we can verify that just on this little small move. This is a short move, but let's take a look. Yep, 38.2 got slightly beyond it, actually, right between the 38 and the 50. So this pullback, it's possible that it's done, which would mean that this support has held. It's also possible that it shoots back down again and comes down to somewhere in here, forms that higher low, and then launches its next thrust upwards. We'll have to see if there is actually enough buying pressure, enough buying strength to do that. Given that on the daily basis, the oscillator is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, I'm not really expecting to see that. But there's a reason why there is a saying in trading and in the markets that the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So, in other words, no matter how much it doesn't make sense what the market is doing, no matter how much all your indicators and technicals may be telling you, oh, but it's getting weaker, it can't do this, it can't do this. Yes, it can. What is the price doing? Price action dominates everything. Price action is your key. And right now, the price action is up. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. It's as simple as that. You can't argue with that. So the bulls are still swinging. Of course, we've got the all-time highs up here, which we really need to get over to be able to truly move to the upside. This line, for some reason, is not quite where it should be. There we go. This one also is not quite where it should be. Whatever, close enough. So you get the idea. Right now, we're in a very, very strong uptrend. We can't argue with that. So we really need to be looking to trade to the long side. But that being said, I'm also wanting to be very cautious because right now the trend could run out of steam at any moment and then give us that significant retracement. To somewhere down around 2600, 2650, somewhere in this area here is probably what I would like to see as a very healthy retracement. But this is a daily chart, so that's going to take some time. On the 60-minute, of course, there are intraday moves to be had. For example, yesterday, fantastic day. If you caught to the long side, pretty much at the open, about 6 a.m. or so, it was definitely looking like it wanted to be a bull day. And from that point on, it was pretty close to nothing but up. One little moment to pull back for a second entry if you were late to the party, and then you just had a little bit of distance left to go. Not a whole heck of a lot, though, but there was something to be had. So that's what's going on in the S&P. Let's take a look at crude oil now and see what's happening in the oil market. And oil also just continuing to march higher, march higher, march higher. The bulls just do not want to give up. Right now, price is riding this rising trend line just beautifully. And every pullback to it is an opportunity to enter. So right now, this is very much a buy the dip kind of situation happening. That being said, we also have a slightly weaker oscillator, but nothing really major. This is a very minor divergence at best. So I'm not super worried about that. But it's worth knowing that it's there. But still, I mean, the oscillator well above the zero line. There's no question that the bulls are in control. Everything is up. The 21 EMA trend is up. The uptrend line. We've got the support area, congestion area that price hopped over and kept on going. It did, however, this is what I'm talking about. It hopped up over, pulled back to it, held as support, tested again, support, support, support. It kept holding and holding and holding and just showed that this was a very, very strong level of support. And then it pushed higher. So that's what you want to look for is if a zone breaks, you want to see it test as support or resistance, depending on which direction it breaks. Now, on the intraday, on the 60-minute chart, we do have a bit of a breakdown here on this trend line here. This is a closer fitting trend line, shorter term trend line. Price broke below it once before, stayed there for a couple hours, and then shot back above it. And right now, it has broken above it again. But this time around, instead of just one big, huge breakdown and a little bit sideways, this has been a more gradual breakdown, a slight break, and then a little bit further, one fight, which you could argue is testing as resistance. I think that would be a reasonable argument to make. And then it broke lower and is continuing lower. So right now, crude oil on 60 minutes showing some weakness. So we want to be really cautious about that. Is this weakness going to continue? Are we going to take out this previous higher low? And are we going to get stuck in this area here, kind of between these two trend lines, the shorter term trend line here and the longer term trend line here? What are we talking about here? So we need to kind of see how this market wants to play out and either watch for it to establish a higher low, which maybe this already is. Maybe this is the higher low. Do we just break higher from here and then take out the high, in which case definitely the trend is continuing? Or are we going to correct? Is it time to have a nice little pullback of some sort, perhaps still higher than this low here, in which case the uptrend is still intact? We still have a reasonable pattern of higher highs and higher lows. So watch out for that. But right now, the daily trend is certainly up. And the intraday trend is still really basically up, even though it is turned down right here. I mean, you can see it's done that many times, right? And it turns down because these are pullbacks in the bigger trend. So if this is just another pullback, no big deal. If it breaks down below much further, especially if it gets down below this trend line, below the 21 EMA, and holds below there, then we know a correction is likely coming. So watch out for that. Now let's take a look at gold, and gold is just trying to grind higher as well, but not. I'm not really liking what I see here. And here's why, amongst other things. So right now, first of all, oscillator is below the zero line. Okay, so behind the scenes of price, the bears are still in control. We've got what could be easily termed a bear flag going on here. This is a kind of textbook looking bear flag. If we break to the downside below here, then I'm looking for this distance here to extend here. So I'd be looking for something like a pullback down to the 1240-ish level, something like that, which is the 100% extension. You can see I've plotted that extension here, in fact. And it actually needs to be moved slightly because the market has moved since I plotted this one. The flag has continued to form. So at the moment, it's right here. So now we're talking about 1250 would be the potential extension. If price breaks down below and outside of this flag area, that's the area I'm looking for. I'm looking for a move to around 1250, 1251-ish level, somewhere in there. So just be advised, be aware of that we have a what looks to be a bear flag forming on the daily chart. On the intraday basis, you can see that bear flag right here very clearly. And there are certainly moves to be had. There are swings to be had as the flag forms. I mean, there was a beautiful one here. We had a nice down move here, kind of a nice up push here. Even this here was more of a trending move, a short-term trend, but there it was. So there are still moves to be had as the oscillator switches between bulls and bears. But the daily basis right now, bears are still in control. If price gets up to this zero line here and then rejects it and comes back down, that would be very much what I'm looking for in terms of a continuation to the downside. So watch for that and just be prepared to trade accordingly. If, however, somehow the market decides to break higher, if the buyers are not giving up here, maybe price pulls back from here, forms a higher low, and then continues higher, then we need to watch for it to break this high here. And then that would signify that without a doubt, this market is ready to move higher. So that's what we're looking for in gold. We really got to get up above that high. But right now, I see a very textbook flag forming. So I am anticipating an extension to the downside. We'll have to see if we actually get that. All right, looking at natural gas. Natural gas has been just sideways for a while now, and it did just break down below early this morning, late last night, but it shot back up again. It's really just holding this line. You can see the 21 EMA is almost perfectly sideways. There's just no momentum in this market, none. It's just flat. So very difficult to trade this market, especially for anything longer term, because there is just no long-term direction. It's gone completely sideways. Intraday, there's certainly swings to be had. If you are the type to want to day trade natural gas and you want to get in, get out, then you can do that. Watch for changes, especially changes from bear to bull, bull to bear. Crosses of the zero line, for example, can signify that something has changed and you can catch a quick move. But watch out for the fake outs, stuff like this, right? Where yes, it crossed the zero line and it broke upwards and then it came right back down again. But it then did, in fact, break higher. So just watch out. Make sure that you know where your sensible stop is. For example, if you entered here, I mean, your stop really should be down outside this low here, in which case you'd have been perfectly fine. Would have held and gotten higher and caught the move. So just beware. Watch how you trade here. Natural gas is dicey, like any sideways market. It's very choppy and switches direction on a dime and does not have a nice trending pattern to follow. So it's a more challenging market to trade right now. Let's finish up with Bitcoin, the crypto market. And Bitcoin is just grinding its way higher. It's just a very slow grind, but there's not a lot of momentum. For Bitcoin, this is very, very low momentum. The bulls are in control right now on a daily basis. There's no disputing that. But as I have said many, many times over the last, good grief, how many months now I've been saying this, we're stuck in this range. It's just going nowhere. We've got to get up over 44.15 or so, or break down the previous low in order to signify a trending move in one direction or the other. Otherwise, we're just stuck in a range. And you can trade those ranges. Bitcoin has a lot of volatility in it. There's movement to be had, but it's kind of a dicey thing to trade if you're trading by hand. There's so much automation, so much bot trading in Bitcoin that it's very spiky. You can see the way it moves. It looks very different from your traditional equities chart or your futures chart, things like that. It's a very challenging market to trade because things move incredibly fast when they move and far. This isn't even an outrageous move for Bitcoin, this move down here, and yet it was still at least a $300 move. So that's a big, big move. But when you're talking about a $4,000 asset, that's not that surprising. A high volatility $4,000 asset at that. So just be really careful. But right now, I mean, you can see it on the intraday. The trend line has been just holding beautifully. Every pullback to the trend line has been a buying opportunity. The bulls are very definitely in control, but very soon, if they keep this up, they're going to be pushing up into prior resistance areas, and then especially the big one here. So the bulls are itching for a fight, and it's looking like they're going to get it when they start getting a little higher. We'll have to see what happens. Are there more sellers still waiting up here, or have all the sellers been previously washed out of this market? We don't know yet. We'll have to give it some time to see. Right now, though, the MACD very sideways. Not a lot going on there. There's just no momentum to be had here. And the trend, however, is ever so slightly to the upside. So you can't really argue with that. The move is to the upside, but on an intraday basis. That's really the way you have to look at this. On a daily basis, we got to get over this high or below this low. It's just that simple. Until that happens, there is no trend on the daily. All right, let's take one last peek at the S&P 500. Make sure that the world hasn't gone crazy in the last 15 minutes, which it has not. Nothing really happening right now. We're just waiting for the opening bell, which will be in 27 minutes. So look forward to that. I am going to go get ready for our premium chat room this morning. So those of you who will be there, I will see you on the other side. We will look forward to another great day of trading, kicked off by Tom's morning analysis, and we'll see what the market has in store for us. So until Monday, I hope you have a great weekend and trade carefully and cautiously as always, especially if you are a futures trader and you're going to play on Sunday. Just watch out for that lower volumes and all that good stuff. So until Monday, when I do this all over again, I am Jonathan Van Clute with Stock Navigators. One more time, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And do give us your feedback, comments, and leave any tickers or markets you'd like me to examine, anything like that. And I will gladly consider adding those to the morning routine. All right, everybody, have yourselves again a great weekend and take care. Bye-bye.